What's up, buddies? It has been a little bit, but I've been busy with some other things here in my life. I'm going to be playing a live game for you here today, and then I'll talk about some things people have asked me about this deck recently. But we'll get into that after the game. Maybe I'll talk about it if I have some dull moments in this game since it's a live game. Let's see here. Two lands, Helm of Awakening, Mox Opal. Um, Ad Nauseum is an easy line. Red Blast is good against one opponent. Um, a third land doesn't even really get us anywhere with this hand. I mean, it literally just does nothing. Um, Helm is not necessarily good when we're doing nothing. I've got potentially dead card and Mox Opal. I mean, wins with Ad Nauseam Mind Over Matter, but it's kind of overkill because the real problem is getting there. One land, I guess, gets us to a weaker version of Jeleva. We get a free Mull 7 in multiplayer. The hand's keepable, but I'm going to go ahead and mulligan it. Okay. Soul Ring 3 lands, Future Sight. Probe Minds are much better, so keep. Okie doke. We can work with this. So, nothing super fast that we can see. We can choose to probe out early if we want to, just to then go for another card, which is typically decent to do in the first turn or so. Like if we open with the probe and we don't draw something like a Signet, we get a chance to use the Soul Ring mana right away. Um, Obviously, if we find something like a Doomsday, that could be good, but I mean, we're not even on triple black lands yet, and we're kind of pushing towards this Future Sight with which wins with it anyway, so it's not really a problem. We don't have a third blue source for this yet. It's probably better just to feed it right out. And just in case we get something like a 1CC tutor that we'd rather cast turn 1 instead of the Soul Ring, though in most cases we want to cast a Soul Ring, we could burn it right away. Or we could choose to wait. Let's see what they do here. He plays his own Soul Ring, okay. Boop. But in all likelihood we're going turn 1 Soul Ring, right? But we can at least check first with the probe if we want to. And then Beth Mantle. Okay. There's a little bit aggro coming out of this guy. Doot doot doot. Nice Whisper. Well, it gives us a way to kind of build our hand back up from the Soul Ring on our subsequent turn here. Go ahead and kill the life. The life isn't that important. Let's go ahead and take a look at Pager's hand here, since he is our resident blue player. Okay, so we see a counter spell and he has a Windfall. He also has a Propaganda. Only has 2 mana, so his next turn play is Island, pass on counter spell. So we most definitely want to slam the Soul Ring right now. We'll go ahead and just throw out the basic island, saving our fetch effect. Especially since we're not bringing Watery Grave and tap to save life or anything like that. We'll just go ahead and do that. F6. Considering he has that, F6 again. Considering he has that Trinket Mage, he most likely wants to go get Soul Ring or Mana Crypt and develop before he windfalls. And considering Nekusar, part of the reason I've always hated Nekusar, if you hadn't heard it enough already, is that it incentivizes you to not play the cards in your hand on time. So like wanting to save that wheel is like horrible in general. If you want to be playing wheels, I feel like you want to be making value off them as quickly as possible, and might even incentivize him to go Trinket Mage, find a thing, waste a whole nother turn on Nekusar before he even decides to do anything like that. Which we have a way to get rid of Nekusar if he takes that line, so that we can continue to draw lots of cards. Though it would also potentially give us a window to open into Future Sight, so we'll just kind of have to see how the game develops. But considering he's passing on Counterspell, if he doesn't make his land drop next turn, if he doesn't find the land drop right here or on his subsequent turn, I'm not going to be slamming a Future Sight or anything like that into the Counterspell. In fact, I probably wouldn't even waste the Jeleva just because there's a pretty damn good chance he just nabs it with Counterspell, unless he's a little happy to pull the trigger right here and just wants to deal with whatever Omnath player's playing. But I don't I don't give him much credit for wasting his counter spell on just no. I'd be tempted to counter a ramp spell if I drew the land from his position, simply because you can go get like the Soul Ring, and then on your next turn, Soul Ring and Windfall, and your opponents aren't in as good of a position. But he won't. I don't think. If I was in his position, I probably would. Ooh, that's another good card to hit with it, but I doubt he does as well because it deals damage and draws extra cards, so he doesn't really care about it. Okay, we've got our own Windfall here. Interesting. We can choose to just Windfall right out, which actually isn't so bad. I mean, we do have the answer in Toxic Deluge. This guy does have a decent position already, but this kind of makes his library less useful to him. We do get a 7-card hand unless he counterspells it. You see, the main problem here with casting the Windfall is, since we know this guy's counterspell, I could just see him countering it. But on the other hand, if he didn't hit his land, he most likely won't counterspell it. Trying to think. If he refills and even drops back down, we'll still get 6 off of this as we try to go for it on our next turn if he develops. So I think that's still pretty good. We'll just go ahead and Night's Whisper first, I guess. So I'll go ahead and fetch my Underground Sea, just because I don't know what this player's thinking. In general, you'd think that he would let the Windfall through, but considering he's the one who hasn't really developed at all, potentially he does not want that to happen. I'm not really sure what he's thinking, but either way, I don't want to risk it. Okay, Duress and Doomsday, interesting. Okay, so we've got Doomsday plus Future Sight, though we're short a blue to slam the Future Sight. It's still kind of tempting to just dump the hand to the Windfall. Obviously, if he keeps his counterspell up, we can duress it out of his hand, and then choose to Windfall if that's the line we really want to take, that we're going to be getting less cards since he'd be the highest player. Actually, no. This guy maps back up to 7. So, I'm trying to think what would make us want to take these 2 cards. Like, this is a win, sure. But it's kind of slow from this position, right? Because we don't have a 3rd black source or a 3rd blue source. So I guess if we get a fetch land or something like that where we can slam the Future Sight, that's okay. If this guy doesn't play Counterspell or pass on Counterspell, so if this guy makes his land drop and we top deck something, he can get his Watery Grave, then in that position I think it's perfectly reasonable to just slam the Future Sight. But otherwise this is kind of slow. So we'll see what this guy does here. Yeah, he's mana screwed. So he should be happy to let me just Windfall. But I don't think there's... So it's really, do I risk not being able to push the Windfall through based off of not getting the extra mana off Duress? And as far as that line goes, being able to guarantee I get the Windfall through is nice. But I guess we'll have to see what top deck first. But we've already got Future Sight and Doomsday in this hand. The Mind's Desire is not really doing too much by itself. And we do want to get to more land drops, etc. But depending on what this guy does and what we top deck here, it might not even be worth shooting the Duress as far as just being able to get extra value off of our next hand. We'll see what he does here. What was the land that our red player went and got? Was it a Strip Mine? No, it was a Volucut. Okay. We're going to be helping Captain Green player here out just a little bit. There isn't Escape Shift. Probably just there for value. Okay. So he continues to develop. Maybe this is Ingot into a Tiny Omnath. Something of that nature. Okay. So he's developed and he can deal us some damage. So we do kind of want to play fast here. So now the question is, do we go for Duress on Counterspell? Or do we just say... we're okay with not getting the Windfall. Oh, he burns the Counterspell on the Omnath. Well, that makes that decision a whole lot easier. See if we top deck something that makes us want to keep our current line, though. Wheel. Wheel and Windfall are essentially the same thing in this position, so it doesn't really matter. I guess, actually it's not true because I can play Wheel off of the Badlands and then keep open double blue, which is kind of good. As opposed to just double black, which 2 black doesn't get me all that much. So I think it's just Badlands Wheel. Um, this hand just doesn't have the mana I need to make use of these cards. So I'm just going to go ahead and wheel out quickly. So, boop. New hands. Okay, Grim Monolith, Copy Artifact, Ponder Turnabout. So this is also pretty good, right? Because we can go Copy Artifact and then net a copy of our Soul Ring here. And then we can develop even further with this Grim Monolith. Okie doke. And our Dark Petition is now online, so this is a Demonic Tutor. This is not as good. No, okay. Got another counter spell, so that's kind of nice. Lost his Birthing Pod, etc. Okay, Braid of Fire. Too slow, I think. Okay. We don't really have rituals yet. So going Petition into Yogwin, I don't think necessarily gets us there. We could always Petition into Necro, which isn't so bad, but I'm almost tempted to go use the Factor Fiction and the Ponder. Since, I mean, the Doomsday's already been, so I can't go get the Doomsday and win with the Ponder. I'd have to shuffle it back in, which is kind of annoying, because normally, right, with a Ponder and a Dark Petition with the Petition online from this position, it'd be really easy to just build a Dark Petition Ponder win. Depending on, of course, whether this guy passes on open mana or not would depend on if we were going to think about building a protection pile or just building a Sempizine one, so I'm not even going to consider thinking about it yet. It'd just be a waste of my brain power time here, so I'm trying to think about what's going on. I want to say the wheel has incentivized this guy to develop, especially since he's behind, but you never know. We already see 2 counter spells. Oh god. We hit him Soul Ring and a Mana Crypt, so he's probably quite happy with that. Let's see if he continues to develop. Lotus, really? Maybe? Psychosis Crawler. Mildly annoying, for sure. So hate bearish type thing. If we do end up going Petition into Yogwell, we can use the Deluge to remove it, though it's fairly inefficient, and we probably wouldn't be able to win with that line, because that's going to be a pretty much 5 to cast the Yogwell, and then 3 more to get the Deluge, so that's already 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We're only at 10 mana right now. That only leaves us like 4 extra mana, which probably wouldn't be enough to do anything truly powerful. So, I mean, potentially we can go get just a hate card with this to get rid of this card, depending on what our Factor Fiction and Ponder finds here. But I feel like we just want to dig a little deeper and figure out what we have going for us, and then save the tutor to figure out how we're going to chain it all together. I mean, we could be able to easily pull off a Mind's Desire and then get rid of this mid combo. That's scary as shit. Even in mono green, he could easily just win on his untap now. So now we're really fucking pressed. Which makes me want to lead the Ponder instead of the Factor Fiction. I hope we find something very good. Lion's Eye Diamond would net us like 5 mana from this position. We might be able to just push all in. Necro off the top. So do we use the City of Brass, or do we use... I guess since we'd have to cast High Tide off of a land anyway, potentially, it doesn't really matter, so we'll go ahead and not take the damage first, and leave open the colored. None of that is what we want. That's not going to deal with any of our problems right now, so we're going to go ahead and shuffle. Mystical Tutor. Okay. So now we can tutor, but we can't tutor for the card we necessarily want. I think we're going to, if we pass, we may have to deal with even more problems, but I think passing on Factor Fiction plus Mystical Tutor is our best line, and we should be able to win on our next turn. I don't know, it's tempting. We do have this turnabout, so if we absolutely have to stop something this guy plays, We could always go Mystical Tutor, Force of Will on top, Factor Fiction, point at somebody else, and then force his gross ass play. Um, we could slam Jeleva, but I really don't think it's necessary from this position. Especially considering it would use all 3 of my colored mana, and then I wouldn't be able to use the Mystical Tutor. And right now my problem here is colored mana as far as winning goes. So what we could do is we could use the Mystical Tutor to go get the Yawgmoth's Will, and then use the Dark Petition to go get the Diamond, and then we should have enough mana to win. We can just do it that way. Because then this is just Demonic Tutor for Diamond, 2 net 4 mana, and then Yawgmoth's Will on top of the deck. Not so bad. And if I think about it, the turnabout, I'm trying to think whether or not we can actually afford to use the turnabout on the colorless sources to net mana. I mean, if we get another land, because we kind of want to use the turnabout just for Storm. 1 damage from City of Brest isn't a big deal at even mana ahead of time. We could potentially then tutor out, but our High Tide's not looking so great with just these 2 lands, but we would get a 3rd land off the Bloodstained Mire. We could go for Watery Grave, so that would be 3 additional damage there, 4, 5, 29, 27. I think it should be okay. I mean, the Psychosis Crawler is going to hit us a little bit, but it shouldn't hit us for that much. And we might even be able to deluge out. If not, we can just go for the Desire, or we could even just go... we might have the mana to just be able to go Future Sight Doomsday from the graveyard. But we'll be missing our Lion's Eye Diamond. We've already got Soul Ring out, so that would mean like Mana Crypt Petal, Whispering Madness. This is fairly annoying. I kind of want to just try to hard go for a counterspell here. But let's do this. Because we have a better chance of getting a regular counterspell, right? Okay. So let's use the turnabout to split to blue first. Right? Let's do this. Let's dig for a counter. Though now it's going to be more difficult to deal with this guy's play, which is kind of annoying. And if we don't find an answer, we can always just Mystical Tutor to put the Yawgmoth's Will on top. Land on tap. Now we can use a single blue to pop Factor Fiction and look for our counterspell. We'll target this guy. Oh, he gives me a 5-card pile? That's kind of interesting. He's just kind of building my graveyard now, isn't he? But at least we get to deal with the Psychosis Crawler. Or the Mana Reflection. Yeah, I think I'm actually gonna agree with this guy. I mean, there's a chance I'm just gonna lose to this, but I could potentially get Force anyway. And I do want to put Yawgmoth on top, so let's go like this. Let's go blue. Plus the Whispering Madness ciphers. Like this. Okay, and Yawgmoth's Will is lit right now, for sure. Ocean Thief. Well, we've got Yawgmoth's Will, and we've got a land of pitch to that Mox Diamond. Yawgmoth's Will should just end the game at this point. We've got rid of the hate permanent. So really it's all about dodging mana reflection. So I hope this guy doesn't just kill us. Yeah, if he can't do something right now, I'm just going to slaughter them with Yawg Will. Explore. He's digging for it. Okay, looks good. Hopefully my drive isn't filling up. I'm starting to lag. Just F6 through his turn. It's lazy, but Fraps is starting to give my computer a little bit of a heart attack, which usually means my hard drive's getting close to full. I didn't check it before I started this game. But if you can't see the line, free mana, graveyard mana. We can easily go High Tide into Mind's Desire. We could go Future Sight into Doomsday. We haven't used the diamond yet. From this position, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It sounds too much. 12, 13, 14. So 11's at Yawg Will, and there's easy ways to net mana. This is just a win. We have enough to just go Future Sight, Doomsday, and win. Or in fact, we could just go Future Sight top and go Dark Petition out, Helm of Awakening, and draw our whole deck. So we've got definitive winning lines here. So we'll see if this lags. If it lags, okay, I'm just gonna have to close this Fraps, and then I'll upload another game with this where I talk about some of the changes in the deck. Sorry about that, but this is just the Fraps is just killing.